And it's another great good morning to everybody out there in radio podcast land. It's your good buddy Spider, and you're sipping coffee with me on the Sippin Coffee with Spider show. We're going to look at last week's news and see if there's anything new and exciting and fantastic, but I have a feeling it's all going to be more stuff about Trump. And I do want to say something too. Recently, about 2 weeks back, give or take. Well, it's been longer than that now. A few weeks back, several weeks back. I did a solo show on This Uncanny Earth. Rob's out of town, so I just did I did the episode myself, and it was the precursor to this show. I did a show on news headlines, but I kept them like paranormal stuff, like Loch Ness Monster and whatnot. And the subject came up about genetic modification. And on that show, I made a mention about the mRNA C19 shots. You'll notice I say shots instead of the V word because YouTube took that episode down. They took it down because I talked about the V word in a way that wasn't necessarily positive, but I didn't slam it real hard. I didn't go on a rant. I've talked worse on this show than I did on that one. And they haven't taken down any episodes of this. Maybe they just don't know, or maybe nobody cares, or maybe somebody reported that one on purpose. Maybe they don't like my views on that kind of thing. But so we're appealing it because nothing I said was really incorrect. I said that the mRNA shots ultimately proved ineffective, as evidenced by the fact that they're still trying to come up with new versions to combat the newest strains. So it's basically just, and I don't want to go screaming censorship anytime something like this happens, but it's basically what it is. It's not like gratuitous, like they just don't want me to talk about it. It's that they don't like people going off script, and the script is they work and they protect you and this and that. I disagree, but whatever. I'm not going to change my mind. I'm not going to change how I talk about it. Regardless of how many videos or whatever they take down, I'm going to say what I want to say. And they can't stop me. So there. So with that being said, hopefully that gets straightened out. We are going to look at the news. Last week's news. So let's pull some stories up, shall we? Don't bother Grandma while we're watching my stories. Associated Press, Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh predicts, quote, concrete steps soon, unquote, to address ethics concerns. Now remember, there's been a lot of debate centered around Clarence Thomas and various supposed gifts that he took from donors and things, and he's a conservative justice, and supposedly they might sway his opinion, and he didn't disclose everything he's supposed to, and so there's a big push on the Democrat side for more accountability on the Supreme Court, more ways to kind of limit things on that, and which is on the surface, sure, you want these people to be ethical people upholding the law, but on the other hand, you don't want to really rein them in to the point where they're ineffective. The three-part government only works when each part has its appropriate powers. Congress makes the law, executive branch, the president, enacts the law, and the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court and the federal court system, they make sure that the law is in line with the Constitution of the United States. Okay? I've talked about that many, many times on this show. And so I'm interested to see what he means by concrete steps. I know he's one of those guys, again, that the Democrat, liberal, whatever side doesn't like for whatever reason. They had all their smear stuff during when he was getting nominated, and he's sided with both major parties and both modes of thinking. He's sided with both conservative and liberal sides several times in many cases already. So I think he's doing a decent job. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Who knows? But that's what I think. I think he's doing a decent job. So we'll see how that goes. PC Mag says Nintendo shows developers Breath of the Wild running on Switch 2. I wonder if it's any good. I'm not really super into that. We just got a Switch this like a year ago. And I think there's plenty of games for me to play on there. Not that I play a whole lot of it anyway. But I'm not too interested in seeing that. But if you are and you want to see what the difference is, I don't expect it to be really all that different. Nintendo, they've taken some kind of leaps and bounds between consoles, but not to the extent the other guys have. And I don't tend to think that it's going to be so a huge difference. In more gaming news, WWG says Gargoyles Remastered gets a release date, trailer, and new details. And this showed up in the Microsoft Games Store on my Xbox recently. This is a remastered edition of the Super Nintendo game. Gargoyles, of course, was a cartoon that was on, I think it was maybe on Fox, or maybe it was on ABC or NBC, something like that. I don't remember. But it had a lot of great voice talent in it. It had Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis, both from Star Trek The Next Generation, and a few other people. So it was, it got a little weird towards the end, as sometimes these cartoons do. It got a little weird. But it started off all right. It was a decent premise, and it's got a huge cult following. So if you're interested in playing that game again for nostalgia, the screenshots look great. They look sharp. They look pretty good. So when they say remastered, it's pretty well remastered. Inside Edition, you don't hear from them too much anymore, but this is a crazy story. Goodwill employees find ancient human skull in donation box, and the picture's pretty gruesome. Police are now investigating, but say the skull is not part of any crime. It appears to be ancient remains. Ancient, that's a pretty big word. A Goodwill in Arizona found it in the donation box. Police are out on the scene and confirmed that the skull had appeared to be a real human skull and sent it to the medical examiner's office for further investigation. The medical examiner's office confirmed it was a human skull, but that it appeared to be historic or ancient, and that there was no evidence to suggest that a crime was attached to the skull. That's pretty crazy. That's not something you find often being donated. And they said they found it. It didn't make it out to like anywhere where it could go for sale or donation. They found it, and it was mixed in with other taxidermy items, which is creepy enough in itself. Who donates that kind of stuff? For real, like, who does that? Yee. Crazy. Let's see. Popular Science says astronomers detect a distant galaxy's magnetic field for the first time, and that's pretty cool because magnetic fields are super important. The magnetic field helps keep in the atmosphere and things of that nature, and that's one of the reasons why Mars is the way it is because their magnetic field was torn apart at some cataclysmic event in the past, from what we can tell, and that tore away the atmosphere bit by bit. And something like that could always happen here, depending on who you ask. Say, with the solar flares and whatnot. I mean, even though the solar flares have not yet been as dire as they always get predicted, they could potentially cause a catastrophic event. You never know. It's interesting, and being able to detect magnetic fields opens up the possibility in the long term of being able to manipulate magnetic fields, either for weapons of war or for terraforming. Hmm? No, I don't. I'm not saying we have the technology to do that kind of stuff now, but I am saying I'm sure somebody's thought of it. I'm sure somebody has thought about it. Let's see. NBC News. Terrified family of woman killed by Pennsylvania prison escapee is under 24-hour police watch. Remember, this is from last week. I haven't read up to see whether he's been captured yet, but as of then, he had not been captured. He's been cited many times, they believe, but not captured. This is going to be crazy. They think he might go back to the scene of the crime. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how smart this guy is, but we'll see. Washington Post. Senate confirms Biden's FCC nominee, breaking years-long deadlock. Because Congress has been holding up a lot of these nominees. They did the same thing during Trump. They did the same thing during Obama. It's a common tactic to slow things down. And the woman's name is Anna Gomez. The vote was 55 to 43 to confirm her. She is a FCC veteran who is a communications policy advisor for the State Department. She will take the third Democratic seat on the 5-member commission, which oversees broadband and communications regulation. And it's the first time it'll be full strength under Biden, whose initial pick withdrew after a 16-month confirmation battle. And the impasse had left the agency without a Democratic majority for the entirety of Biden's term until now. See, this is something that they should need to work together on. I don't think there should be majorities on something like this. I think this is something that everybody should be working together on. Honestly. I don't know. I always think people should be working together more than they do. But that's just me. Maybe I guess they'd be worried about deadlocks on rules and things. And that's legitimate fear, I suppose. But I don't know. Having parties have majorities is usually always a bad thing. Reuters says summer of 2023 was the hottest on record, scientists say. According to data from the European Union Climate Change Service released on Wednesday. The 3-month period from June through August surpassed previous records by a large margin. Well, we know the planet is changing. Will we adapt to the change, or will we fall by the wayside? It remains to be seen. The planet will exist without us, though, as I have said. Washington Post World. I'm not going to read all of this story because I know what it's going to be about, but it says, big question, what are depleted uranium rounds and why is U.S. sending them to Ukraine? Well, that's one of the primary things that they use for artillery and whatnot, and of course they want Ukraine to win, or whatever it is. If they really wanted them to win, then they would make concrete steps to work with Russia to get things de-escalated, but whatever. It's problematic. It's low-level radiation, and people think, oh, well, it's not going to be that bad, but it's going to cause long-term issues. And things are going to stay in the soil, in the landscape. I don't know. It's a bad idea. Another one from Reuters, probably paywalled. General Motors offers 10% wage hike in contract talks that the UAW, Union of Auto Workers, calls insulting. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't see the automakers. I said this yesterday. I don't see the automakers caving in. The union wants, once again, a 32-hour work week, They still want to be paid for 40 hours for those 32 hours work week. And they want a 46% pay increase. The automakers aren't going to go for that. They're just not. It's not realistic. It isn't. There isn't. This is going to go on for a while. Hope you don't want to buy a new car anytime soon. Let's see. What else do we got? Associated Press says Catholic Jewish research backs reports Catholic convents sheltered 3,000 plus Roman Jews during World War II. And that's good. There's been a lot of talk in the past that the Catholic Church as a whole did not do much to protect Jewish interests or to protect Jewish victims or to tell the Nazis that they were doing a bad thing, that they kind of largely stood by the sidelines. There's been a lot of talk about it. At least one pope in the past has apologized on behalf of the Catholic Church. I think it was John Paul II, maybe. He apologized for crimes done in the name of the Lord and things like that. So this was one of those things. So it's interesting that they're coming up with stuff that wasn't like completely out of the conflict, that they were helping in some ways. Another one from Associated Press, U.S. applications for unemployment benefits fall to lowest level in 7 months. Now, this on the whole sounds like good news. But it also means one of two things. It means more people have jobs, which you would also think is good. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're good jobs. It could be just jobs that they, this is the only job I could get. And it could also mean that a lot of people stopped trying. Because maybe they felt like they were going to get denied benefits soon. They were running short. And so they just didn't bother to apply again. And they're cutting down their incomes. A lot of 2-income families are going down to 1 income and struggling. So when I hear this, it doesn't make it sound good. It doesn't sound like, oh yeah, everybody's got jobs now. The economy's getting great. The optics on this, you gotta pay attention to the details. And the way it's being presented here is poorly. PBS NewsHour with something interesting. Google to require disclosure for political ads that use AI to alter imagery or sounds. Now that's kind of helpful. It means if somebody makes up a political ad with the AI generated voice of Trump or Obama or whoever, as they do with those funny YouTube videos that you may have seen, then they have to have a disclosure that says that they did that. But I would think that you would just want to say don't have that at all. I don't think a disclosure is really the way to go. I think it's just, if you know that AI has been used, then don't use it. Deny the ad on your platform. You're just like, nah. It's disingenuous, as they would say. It's playing games with people's expectations. I would just outlaw it, not like with big legal stuff, but as far as, I wouldn't allow it on the platform. It's not a free speech issue. They're AI generated sounds. It has nothing to do with free speech at all. The AI isn't even that good. It's just basically parroting things. It's working off prompts and just injecting a voice. So it's not like it's an AI that's gained sentience or anything like that, so you can't say that it has First Amendment rights. If it was an AI that had sentience, it'd be too smart to deal with this kind of crap. It wouldn't be doing this. It wouldn't be doing this for people. So I would leave it off the platform completely. I'd say, oh, if you used AI on this, nah. Can't broadcast it here. Make your own platform. Another one from Reuters. Ford raises pay for 8,000 UAW workers in line with 2019 contract. Let me see if it's paywalled. It probably is. Yep, it is. But it does say that they will get an average $4.33 an hour's raise under provisions of the current contract. So I don't know if that'll mollify them. Probably not, but it's better than nothing. PBS NewsHour says Texas heat brings the state's power grid closest it has been to outages since 2021 winter storm. And we remember that. We remember a couple years ago when people were freezing to death in Texas. In Texas, of all places, freezing to death because they didn't have power to heat their homes. And you know, we got to get these grids better. All the money that people pay into their utility bills, you would think that some of that could go to improving the grids. They don't seem to be doing that, even here in Ohio. Last year, I think it was, when it was really hot. Or maybe it was during the winter when people were trying to heat their homes. AEP was like, they're my local electric people. They were like, hey, if you can, why not, shut off your air conditioners for a few extra hours and do this and do that, and so that we don't have to do planned outages, because that would be, if things get worse, we'll have to do planned outages. And I'm kind of like, no, the heck you won't. Where's my electric bill going? I pay my electric bill every month. Where's that going to? You need to supply enough power, not just for me, but for everybody. Okay, we're paying these electric bills. If that's not helping with the grid, there's a problem. Don't threaten me with planned outages and things to try to relieve stress on the grid. You need to have a better grid. I know it's easier said than done, but still, where does that money go? Where does that money go? It needs to go towards the grid to handle the load, to handle the strain. It has to. Not for bonuses for executives. I don't know if that's what they use it for. I'm not making any kind of case for that kind of thing. I'm just saying it shouldn't go towards anything else. Not to charities, which are nice. I know everybody's all for charities, but take care of your core thing that you got to work on first. Don't worry about extra stuff like that if you can't take care of the bottom line of what your whole utility is based off of, which is providing electricity to your customers. And Texas needs to do the same thing. They need to do the same thing. People are being crazy about this. PC Gamer. Starfield player tricks AI with unbeatable ship, quote unquote, made only of corners. I don't know how long you have to play to actually do some of this stuff. I haven't, I can't do anything with my ship. I don't have near enough in-game money to do it. I haven't apparently been playing near as long. These are probably the people who got the extra week or two in advance. This thing looks crazy. It looks ridiculous. But if it's invincible, then I don't mind. Have it look ridiculous. People are getting real creative with their ships and things in this game. Which I guess you might as well, because it's kind of a mediocre game, to be fair. Maybe I'm just not that far enough in it. I'm level 8 or something like that. I've done a bunch of story missions. And I get kind of bored. It's okay. It's not a terrible game. It's not bad. But I did have some classic Bethesda glitches today. I had someone, a banded enemy, walk straight through a stone pillar in a cave and then stand up on air for a few seconds before falling to the ground when I'd shot them. And I was like, oh, there you go. Typical Bethesda. Always got that kind of stuff. Let's see here. HuffPost, which again, not the most legitimate news source out there, if I do say so. They say Jimmy Fallon eviscerated. That's the kind of language that makes them not be very legitimate. Okay. Eviscerated by current and ex staffers in Rolling Stone expose. Sensationalism. Don't care. If you care, it's on HuffPost. This is how I tell the real news from the garbage news. I'm not going to say fake news because I'm sure it's real stuff that happened, but it's garbage news. It's trash news. It's just there to get people worked up, riled up. It's not intended to inform you of anything actually important. When they use a word like eviscerated in their main tagline, and they're not saying that somebody was brutally hurt in an industrial accident, because that's news. It's unfortunate news, but it's news. Nobody cares about this kind of stuff. Come on, move on. HuffPost, always thinking they got the scoop. Scoop this, HuffPost. Goodness. From comicbook.com. Now, this is a case that has been going on for quite a while, actually. I didn't realize it was still ongoing. I thought maybe like the charges were dropped or something. But Danny Masterson, who played Hyde on that 70s show, sentenced to 30 years to life in prison in an abuse case. That's a big deal. 30 to life is not small change. He was on trial for sexual assault after being charged with forcibly raping multiple women. Yeesh. And they must have had evidence. Because if you go to prison, that's evidence. Okay. If they don't have evidence, they take it to civil trial and you pay out a bunch of money and they ruin your career. But if they do have evidence, you're going to jail. And that's a long time to go to jail. There must have been a lot going on with that, and that's unfortunate. But that's what happens. You take advantage of people. You think you're in a position of power. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, pardon me. My goodness. Yesterday's dinner is creeping back up on me. I know you're happy to hear that, but oh, now this is smart. I wish I could do this. I don't have a PC that'll do it, but IGN says Starfield Xbox players are using cross-platform saves to gain access to PC console commands. Oh my gosh, I would so do this. Give myself infinite money. Give myself infinite everything. Oh my gosh, I would so do that. But my PC won't run it. I have a laptop and it won't run it. No, it'd be pointless. Probably. I don't know. Maybe I'll try it. Because you don't got to get too far in it. You just got to get the save over. And then have access to the commands. But probably not. But it's smart. And they'll probably patch that quick. Or have a hot fix. So once you migrate it over to Xbox, it'll detect that you made a change in the save file. And it'll just remove it. We'll see. Reuters with a sensationalist headline: China suspected of using AI on social media to sway U.S. voters, Microsoft says. Well, of course, everybody's using AI these days. Everybody's trying to influence everybody with this. And the AI is not even that good. It's just most people aren't that smart. And I don't mean to say people are stupid. I'm not going out and calling like everybody in America stupid. I'm just saying people aren't that smart. And it's true. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. I'm not always that smart. Most of the time I am pretty smart, but sometimes I'm not. But yeah, people are not very smart. And why wouldn't another country take advantage of this kind of thing? Right? Why wouldn't they? Associated Press: Governor DeSantis and Florida Surgeon General warn against new C-19 restrictions and inoculations. Good for them. I mean, I don't live in Florida, so I'm not going to vote for nobody down there, but we don't need more restrictions. If they made a shot that works, that actually performs, okay, fine, sure. Right now, the current ones don't. Don't argue. They don't. Like, look it up. It's not like fringe theory. It's actually on mainstream news. You can find it. Just look it up. I know people say, "Oh, look it up. It means you don't have links and stuff." Why would I keep links like that around all the time? Why do I care? I'm not here to convince you. You convince yourself. You believe what you want to believe. I don't care. I'm not that kind of thing anymore. I tried to help people during the virus years, and people just laughed at me until I was proven right at the end anyway, about pretty much everything. So whatever. I'm secure in knowing what I know, and people can do what they want. But there doesn't need to be more restrictions. There doesn't need to be anything like that. Nobody needs to be putting on their coverings. Nobody needs to go out of their way to quarantine. If you're sick, stay home and stay away from people, just like you would with any other communicable disease. Stay home, get better, then go back to work, whatever. That's what you do. That's what we did as kids. That's what you do as an adult. You go home if you feel sick. You stay there till you don't feel sick. Done deal. Keep up with your hygiene. Wash your hands, all that stuff. You don't got to do any of the other crazy things. They are crazy things. Don't tell me they're not. People are still nuts sometimes. We're in bubble suits and things, hazmat suits. Come on. Really? Come on. Eat some chicken soup and get over it. If this doesn't get this video taken down by YouTube, I don't know what will. And on that note, I guess we're done. So I hope you have a big day planned. Hope you have a fun day. I hope you enjoy yourselves. Have a big breakfast, like I always tell you. Maybe save some for me. I'll come over and I'll eat it. I like me some bacon and eggs, some grits. Make it a full English. Give you the tomatoes, the potatoes, the bacon, the toast, the sausages. Give me all that stuff. Whole plate. I'll eat it. And we can have a good day together. You and me and everybody. All right? Cool. If you have something to say, drop a comment on this video or email me at uncannyspiritsclub@gmail.com. Or if you just want to send me a picture of the breakfast that you're eating without me, I'll be angry, but fair play to you. Go ahead, send me pictures of your breakfast. I will send you carefully veiled threats to say you better share, or else. Or else what? I don't know. Or else I'll be hungry. So do that. Comment on this video or send me an email at uncannyspiritsclub@gmail.com. All right? All right. Have a great one.